Good news on the diet update. I weighed myself this morning and I was 179 flat. And guess what I did differently today? Nothing was eaten before going to bed. So I think that might be a good strategy. Now, as for what I ate yesterday, let's go over it. Last video, I already did mention eating the ice cream and the hard-boiled egg. And after that, a little later, use those keto-friendly bread slices with mayonnaise, Primal Kitchen a variety, and mustard and ham, and 2 thick slices of cheese. I had that before going to work, and then for dinner, I had a BLT with the keto-approved bread slices from Nature's Own again. I gotta be honest, this might be the best keto bread I've had because it crisped up nicely in the toaster, which most keto bread doesn't really do. So I was left extremely impressed with that. I even had some chicharrones and 2 spoonfuls of that ice cream, as well as a ANW Zero. And that's it. That's what I ate yesterday. Well, after covering that, let's continue with the update. Now, as soon as I was done recording my update for the last video, I decided to turn off my TV because I was watching the Dark Path video and wanted to redirect my attention to working on my YouTube video for my Brain Jam Extra channel. So I turned it off and I switched gears. It turns out that my time was getting limited. And also I realized, wait, I need to edit my previous video to ensure that it's ready to go on my YouTube channel. So that took a pretty decent amount of time. To be honest though, my editing software on my phone called InShot has something called AI Edit, where you click it and it goes through an entire transcript of your video and it makes cuts based on where you go uhs, or have long pauses. But it's not a magic bullet. You still have to manually rewatch the video and make sure that it didn't cut out any information that you wanted to be heard, because sometimes it does that and then other times it just cuts you off in an unnatural and weird way. And so you have to put those pauses back in to make the speech sound more natural. So it's not a magic bullet, but it is a tool that I find efficiently speeds up the editing process of my vlog videos. So that's pretty cool. Now, after I was done with editing that video and exporting it and publishing it on my YouTube channel, it was pretty late. And I knew I needed to get to work immediately on my video if I wanted to put some amount of decent time in. So I did just that, but I only had enough time to do 40 minutes of editing because I started at 12:20 and by then I would end at 1, and I wanted enough time to eat and I wanted enough time to take a shower because I hadn't taken a shower in like embarrassingly 2 days. So I wanted enough time to do those things. So I did my 40 minutes with the thought of thinking, oh, I'm probably going to return late at night after my shift is over, and I'm gonna finish editing the next 20 minutes. And we'll get into that later. But once the 40 minutes was done and I edited a good chunk of footage, I eventually decided to make myself a ham sandwich with the keto approved bread, and it was very good. I actually toasted the bread, and again, it was very nice and crispy with all the condiments and the cheese. Afterwards, as I was making my sandwich and pouring some barbecue chicharrones next to it to have with it, our family friend wanted me to move her car out of the way so I could move my car for work because her car was behind mine. I was in the middle of making my meal, so I declined to do that and she did it instead. I asked her nicely, of course. After eating the meal, I took my shower at around 12:30 because it was taking quite a while to prepare the sandwich and then eat it. And I needed to be, not 12, 1:30. I think I said 12. But yeah, I had that sandwich and I needed to take the shower. I could only take it for like 10 minutes because it takes me like a good 5 to 10 minutes to get dressed and find everything I need before I leave for work. It takes me a good like 5 to 10 minutes to drive to work. So I had to act fast and I didn't have enough time to shave my face. So yeah, I've got a little peach skin going on right now. What are you gonna do? Well, afterwards, I got out of the shower, got dressed and ready, and I left for work. Now, when I got to work, I think this is probably the most tired I've been at my job ever. Like normally when I'm at work, I always like have the energy to go, "Hey, how you doing? What's up? Ooh, that's a cool whatever," or "nice shirt," or things like that. Like I just try to be hospitable, neighborly, maybe a little playful. Just try to make the shopping experience just a little more friendly and fun. But today I was not feeling it. I want to conserve energy to work on my 20 minutes of my YouTube video for editing later in the day, and for whatever reason, like I didn't have the ability to switch my gears from that to being all energetic. But also, it's not only that, I didn't really feel it today. I just went through the motions, if I'm being honest. And as for any interesting stories or anything to really say, it was a very standard day, which is to say, I did my duties. I was the closer. I had to make the closing list. There were only 2 courtesy clerks for closing instead of 3. So that put a little more pressure on the 2 of us who were closing. And there was only 4 courtesy clerks for the entirety of yesterday, which was crazy because it got really hectic at work and we needed to do things like our sweeps and our lot. And sometimes we weren't there for the cashiers when they needed help with bagging for the customers. So I guess it was a very hectic day indeed. I remember the first hour was front end work. The second hour was spent doing lot. And then the next 2 hours was spent doing sweeps, which include sweeping the produce, sweeping the break room, doing bathroom checks, and doing a store sweep, and punching all those in at the appropriate times. And I gotta be honest, I just did my job and I really didn't have anything that crazy happen throughout my time. I was really just locked in. Well, I punched out for lunch and I drove home. I was really sleepy, but I wanted to make myself a BLT, and I could with the keto bread I had, and we also just so happened to have tomatoes and lettuce in the fridge as well as bacon. So it was perfect. The only problem was I ran out of my Primal Kitchen mayonnaise and I needed to use the other mayonnaise. It was pretty good. I had it with chicharrones. I cured the bacon in its own fat and it was very flavorful. And as I was eating it, I was watching a video on my phone where this guy was talking about a long lost obscure Xbox only, the original Xbox from the early 2000s video game called Superman the Man of Steel. I didn't really watch the whole video, only like a good half of it. Although it did give me feelings of nostalgia for a time that I feel is long past. I didn't have all these other mounting responsibilities like finances, or back then it was just simple living where you could do whatever you wanted. And one of the things I enjoyed was playing video games. I mean, I still do, but what I mean is I feel like I need to dedicate more of my time to self-development, and having that energy to dedicate to playing video games is not as much of a luxury as it used to be when I didn't have all those mounting adult responsibilities coming at me like I do now. And for whatever reason, watching this video about this guy reviewing some random obscure Xbox only Superman game was very quaint and comforting to me, because it felt like a good flash to the past of that quaint era of when I just didn't have much to worry about, but what's the greatest game of all time, or things like that. Yeah, it was nice. Anyways, after I was done eating, I left for work, and when I got there, I had the schedule prepared and the closing schedule. I evenly split the task between me and my coworker, and we got to work while also needing to upkeep with the customers. These times can be quite stressful because you know you have a lot on your plate and you want to get it done before the closing comes, but you also need to tend to the customers, and so you have to juggle two things at once, and so that can be quite frantic for sure. I gave myself 4 check stands to clean. There are 8 check stands, so I gave my other coworker 4 other check stands to clean. I gave him 2 of the smaller ones and 2 of the ones that are the first ones to close near the end of the day. I gave myself the ones that don't close until literally at the 11th hour. And I also gave myself trash duty, produce line closing, clearing lot, bringing in carts and the signs. And what else? I think that might be it. I might be forgetting something. Oh yeah, and refilling the bags for the check stands as well. I gave my co-closer refilling the receipt tape, refilling the cleaner and paper towels, as well as cleaning out the company fridge for anything that didn't have any receipts on it. And of course, we didn't need to worry about the ads because we don't change the ads until 2 to 3 days from now, for which I don't even have closing for those days, so I don't even need to worry about that really. Now, the thing that makes closing so hardcore, other than the fact that you're the last one other than the managers to leave the store, is that you need to multitask, you need to do all the things on the list as well as tending to customers. And if you have any additional tasks, which of course you do because you are given responsibilities like doing a lot or sweeps or both, if your coworker leaves an hour earlier than you, which of course they need to, then you've got a lot of hats you gotta wear. And it can be quite a conundrum, but I think I was able to make it out okay. It feels impossible. I know that's silly and weird to say, because big deal, it's closing, like everyone does closing. But it feels hectic and like you're in a whirlwind when you're in it. And then when you're out of it, you're like, wow, I can't believe I made it through that. That was crazy. That's how it felt. I remember as I was wiping down one of the check stands, one of my coworkers who was a cashier, he asked me how I was doing. I said I'm doing good, but I gotta be honest, my back was hurting. For whatever reason, my back feels fine right now. But when I was working last night, my back was feeling pretty tight and not great. And I said, I remember overhearing that your neck wasn't doing too good because you were watching a movie and had your neck propped up in a weird way that when you went to sleep. He said, yeah, I was watching a film called Super Bob, and it was a film about like a guy who's really awkward and, you know, he doesn't really know how to express himself, but he has superpowers, and the film is made in a really mockumentary kind of style where he is presenting the whole superhero thing is like sort of like a mundane kind of like duty he has to do, like someone would if they were going through their job at like a instructional video. And it was like a comedy, and it sounded pretty funny. He really liked it. Will I watch it? Maybe, maybe not. Depends. We'll see. But the premise sounds funny and interesting. Well, after that, I finished wiping the rest of the check stands. I closed the produce blinds, but there was a big problem. One of the produce blinds, the magnetic strip, lost its adhesive on the blind. So you're supposed to pull it down and stick the magnet to the bottom so it covers the produce to keep it fresh. But because the magnetic strip had lost its adhesive stickiness, I couldn't do that. So I let the manager know about it. So yeah, they're aware of the problem. I cleared the lot. I took out the trash. The cool thing about trash was my co-closer actually took out the office trash and the front and check stand trashes while I was doing a lot on my first hour. So yeah, that was really cool of him. Really appreciate it. I really like that because any help is always appreciated, and it is a really busy schedule or shift closing is. Yeah, and then I punched out and I said goodbye to my manager. I let him know about the whole adhesive thing, of course, but I also asked if he wanted me to take the go backs that were in a red basket back into the store. And he said, "No, you're fine." So I said goodbye. We went our separate ways. I said, "Have a good one, brother." I said, "Thank you." I punched out, and then I walked out in the parking lot and drove back home. And then when I got home, I was dead dog tired. I didn't realize how tired I was until I got home. I was sleepy. I decided to go in my room, get out of my work clothes, get into my more relaxed clothes. And I went on my phone and I was watching videos about AI slop released on the Nintendo eShop on the Switch game console, because I got an article recommended to me on my phone about how AI slop is starting to invade the PlayStation Store. And my curiosity got the best of me, and it made me wonder, wait, so what do AI slop games even look like? Do they halfway represent what they're advertising using the AI generated imagery? So I immediately checked that out on YouTube, and someone spent $250 on AI slop games to review them. It was pretty much a guy on a Twitch stream that cut his video together really quickly to show what he was experiencing, and he was basically making fun of these really cheap, sloppily made games, and it looked really bad, all of them. Yeah. I mean, some of them had some kind of surprising utility. For example, one you can make music with, but for the most part, they were really simple, really cheap, and really poorly made titles. Then I went to sleep, and I was so tired that I didn't I woke up at 7:50 to use the restroom and get a drink of water, as I usually do. And my mom even offered to make breakfast. But I was so tired, I just went back to sleep. And I ended up sleeping all the way till 11:15 in the morning. Yeah, I was that tired. Crazy. I felt pretty bad. I feel bad because it's I literally slept through almost half of the day. I could have jump started the day super early and gotten some stuff done, but instead I wake up super late, and I feel like I missed out on a lot of what I could be doing. I mean, that doesn't mean I can't do anything now, but what it does mean is that I need to be more protective of my time and how I spend it. And yeah, never stay up late watching videos of guys talking about trash video games before going to bed. That's my next thing I'm going to do. Don't stay up late. Soon, have a bedtime, 12 a.m. at the latest. Well, there's a June bug outside. Well, after I woke up, I decided to scoop myself 2 scoops of the keto-friendly ice cream, the chocolate one, and have a cup of coffee while watching a video on my YouTube, on my YouTube app, a guy who was making a video on Digital Foundry, Alex Battaglia, about a game called Spaghetti Kart, which was basically a decompilation of a classic Nintendo 64 game, Mario Kart 64. And basically, it allows the game to natively run on any hardware you throw at it at a full 4K to 8K resolution, up to 360 frames per second. And you can pretty much run on any PC as long as it was released as early as 2005 or 4. Yeah, it runs really good at 60 on hardware as old as that. So that was really impressive and cool to see. But I mean, it makes sense. The game came out in 1997 or 8. I don't know when it came out, but it came out really early in 3D graphic technology. And so it makes sense for that game to run extremely well on new hardware, even just slightly newer or older hardware. So that was cool to see. I really like these fan projects that breathe new life into these old video games. Then after that, I was listening to an Area 52 video where a guy was going through an old alien abduction case from the 1940s. That was compiled by researchers of the phenomenon from the 60s, early 60s. I find the early cases far more interesting than the newer cases, mostly because it feels like when you're interviewing like people who lived on like farms, like in the middle of nowhere, who experience this stuff, it's a bit more believable to me because they don't have things like the internet or phones or things to tell them like, ooh, want to be hip and trendy and get attention? Then do this wacky UFO trick. Like, no, it feels a bit more genuine because it's like, oh, maybe they actually experienced something. Whether it was just a visual auditory hallucination from doing something or it was real, I guess we may never know, but the best we have to go off of is their testimonies, which is pretty much the case with a lot of these alien things. It's all anecdotal, nothing physical, which sucks. Well, after that, I realized I needed to record my next video. But before I did that, I watched my previous video to see what I said, so I knew exactly where to carry off from there. And after understood what to say after watching the previous video, I set up my camera, got my microphone, and made sure everything looked nice and set up, and we have a good thing going here. And of course, we have reached the end, but I only did 40 minutes of my editing. I didn't do the full 60 minutes. I was too tired last night to do that final 20 minutes. So you know what that means. It's time to do push-up punishment. 10 push-ups. Here we go. This is what happens when you don't do what you're supposed to. You get push-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They just get more difficult the further you get up the ladder. But I gotta be honest, I find it pretty reinvigorating. But that doesn't mean I'm not gonna do an hour of editing today, which I will. And that concludes this video, this update. Thanks for stopping by, I very much appreciate it. And now I'm going to edit this bad boy down and we'll see what I'll do. At least an hour of editing, probably do something productive, crush some cans over there. Well, on top of the editing. Maybe a little exercise, maybe a little swim outside would be nice, and that'll do it. Goodbye, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.